Regarding the Ukrainian people, the first thing you need to understand is that all people, from what I've come to learn, all people around the world are pretty similar. At their core, most things are very, very similar. The second thing you need to understand is that Ukrainians are not Americans. This is not a bad thing in any way. Just you need to understand that the things they've grown up with and their history and their culture is going to be different. And a lot of times they simply see you as an outsider, and you need to present yourself not as an American, but as a person that's cares about them. Ukraine has seen its hardships between the Soviet Union, World Wars, and they've been gone through a lot. They are very hardy people that have survived some awful things. And they are very strong because of what they've endured. They love their families. Oftentimes in one apartment you'll see 3 generations. You'll see grandparents, parents, and little kids running around. That's partly because they don't have the funds to, if they can't send a grandparent to a nursing home like we can. But they will not abandon their families the vast majority of the time. Teaching them about eternal families is very important, but realize that it's not always something that makes sense to them. But when you can find people that it makes sense to, it's a game changer. But be aware that many things that you are bringing to them are very foreign. For hundreds of years, I think about 1,000 years, the main religious influence in Ukraine has been the Pravoslavny Church, the Orthodox Church. And so for them, it is just tradition. My father was Pravoslavny, my grandfather was Pravoslavny, and before him, and before him, and before him. So it's very hard for them to accept us. We come out with this very, very new thing. And you need to be very sensitive about that. You don't want to come down and say, "Oh, the Pravoslavny Church, that's just old garbage. We got this new stuff that's so much better." Be aware that this is what they've built their lives around and built their cities on for long before America was, still in, there's still Nephites running around the Americas. When the Pravoslavny Church came to power in Ukraine and Russia. So be aware of that and be sensitive. Never ever bash the Pravoslavny Church in general, especially around the natives, around members. Just don't. It's very important to them and their culture. Also, Ukrainian people are... It's very funny. They're both very warm and very cold, depending on what mood you catch somebody in. The vast majority of the time, if you can get into someone's home, if you knock on the door and they even just want to say hello or something, you come inside, they're very hospitable. They will give you food, usually tea and cookies. Fructovi tea is great, or juice varieties, safe drinks. They will get you safe drinks. But a lot of the times, if you do that, you are going to go home with food. They will give you cookies or something to take home. Do not turn it down. Take it with you and eat it if you can. If you have to, throw it away, but away from sight of people. But try and be nice enough to take that with you and eat it. But at the same time, though, once you get in, they're all, happy to see you and talk to you and whatnot. It can be very hard to get in the door, or to get close enough to have real conversations with them. They're naturally, Ukrainians will tend to be a little suspicious, because if you're American, you are an outsider, and this is an outsider religion, and there have been enough bad things in their history that new things are suspect. So don't be utterly discouraged when people, just blatantly ignore you. I mean, we do that in America. But they've had things that have made them shy, I guess. But once you do get in that door, they're happy to listen to you, talk to you. In Ukraine, there's always kind of a worry of political upheaval. Just be aware. It doesn't need to go. I don't need to go deep with you, but just be aware that things can happen while you are in Ukraine, and you need to just be wary of that. If there's people protesting, if there's people arguing about politics, walk away from the conversation. Don't talk to people at all about politics. Don't talk to people about the riots or protests. Just avoid that. It's not what you're there about. It'll just get you in trouble. And usually people will not single you out and chase you down over something. Just avoid talking about politics and government, and you will be safe.